About going back to the rent part, and maybe I've lived in America for a long time, but I've never understood this thing of taxing revenue. Because when you have revenue as a business, it doesn't mean you're gonna make a profit. So when you tax revenue, you could be taxing someone who's making losses. And I think this is now by naivety of living in America, because the way a landlord will be taxed here, they have to report, the income that they got from their rent, and that will be taxed as regular income. So whatever tax bracket you fall in, whether if you're supposed to pay, you could pay 10%, 12%, or 24%, depending on whatever bracket you fall in. But this thing of taxing revenue, I've never quite understood the philosophy, and I think maybe in Kenya it's because that KRA feels that most people are not gonna report on the income, so they'd rather grab it from the source rather than wait for you to report and you want truth.
I have a response to that, and then I'll read the comment because I want us to keep up with them. Number one, what I notice in the Kenyan economy is there's a lot of mistrust. Nobody trusts anyone. The government doesn't trust the citizens don't trust the government. And I think that's why they end up doing that, The other thing, I think these are growing pains of a country growing. What I mean by that is, there has to be a better way, but I think we do need to get to a point where we pay taxes, because that's the only way we'll grow the country. And we will go through these issues. What I would ask people is to get involved in the public discussions, because the government, they know, probably they do, but maybe they do not know. But I think there has to be public engagement in how do we collect taxes. We have to collect taxes, but so how do we go about it? So I think we need to get to that point. But for now, they're finding our way, because we are so much in debt to collect taxes. I see them doing that. I don't fault them.
This is my beef, which is taxation without representation.
DC.
That's DC.
You cannot just go and be collecting taxes, and people don't see where the taxes go. People don't see how their taxes affect them. Because at the end of the day, for the regular Monanchi, if you're gonna go into his pocket or her pocket, but a life or his life is not being changed, bado healthcare ni shida, education is an issue, food for them, putting food on the table is an issue, you're not helping them.
Mika, don't you think? If
you're just
okay, sorry, finish.
If you're just taxing, for the sake of getting to government budget, and part of majority of that government budget doesn't affect the daily life of how your people see, you will cause apathy among the people, and that can backfire on a government really bad.
Okay, Ruth.
And that is when I unfortunately, this is part of growing pains of a country, is if you tax people and they don't see what you're doing with their taxes, they will start asking questions, and there will be unrest, and something would have to be done. Something would have to give in.
And I think also the issue is taxing people who are already making very little money. And
that's the sad part.
And I think part of the issue is that it's difficult to tax people. It's difficult to tax the informal economy. The informal economy, to say, for example, like people who are selling mitumbas and stuff like that, it's difficult to tax them, yet some of them are making more money than people who are in formal jobs, like people who are teachers or people who have very low paying public jobs. These people with a paycheck, people with pay as you earn, those are the ones who bear the brunt. There's a very small, thin margin of people that pays taxes in Kenya. And the other problem is that the rich people, the ones who are supposed to be paying the large amounts of taxes, are evading tax. So that's another issue. A third of the government budget, this is according to the former president, and this is what he said publicly, meaning that maybe there's more. He said a third of the budget is lost to corruption. So I think if we can even just recapture just a half of that, I think it can go a long way. There's a lot of inefficiency in how things are done. I don't know why money to take kids to school would be given to MPs, and then MPs have the kids line up and then distribute it. It's a mess. You know, like if you say it's free education, just figure out how you're going to pay the schools.
Directly.
We know how many kids we have. Just tell the kids to go to school. So I think a lot of those inefficiencies are there, and some of them are there for political convenience, because the MPs will come back and say, oh, I took your kids to school, or I did this and that. So I think those are the things that we just need to figure out
we do need
as a country. Exactly where we need to go.
And I would call them, I'll be optimistic and call them growing pains. You know, we will get there. We need agitation to get there. You know, let me read the comments. Okay, we're talking about the buying, the empty houses in Kilimani. Washaka says, and the way tunapewa pressure as diasporans to tununue ati they are going like hotcake. Pablo, as Kenyans, we have also not been used to the issue of self-reporting for tax purposes. Most people think they can buy land, put up rentals, and not worry about taxes. So the government is trying to streamline the system. Plus, even before the KRA guys started going door to door, a notice had been issued by KRA about self-reporting. Most cases at the environment court against landlords are failing against them because they ignored self-reporting. Watu walipe ushuru, 100%. Ali, but there is paying taxes and also reporting revenue, regardless of profits or losses. Paul, taxes are the only way GOK will recoup all the money they stole in ghost projects. You cannot vote for someone from the establishment and expect changes. Slay, the issue is do they consider what is discussed in these public discussions? That's a good question. Pablo, exactly, Ruth. A lot of mistrust in both ways. But we have to know taxes run the country. There's no government money, which is what most people think there is. Good point. Celine, unfortunately, the taxes collected enrich others. That's true, too. Pablo, people don't see, quote unquote, where taxes go because they don't ask questions. They will clap at funerals when they are told roads are being constructed, but they won't ask about food.
Now, you see, the people who are supposed to ask these questions are members of parliament. You know, like, I mean, I think sometimes we put a lot of burden on the mwananchi. You know, like someone who's struggling to survive, to feed their family. I mean, it's difficult for this person to know that this is the office that I have to go to find out where this money was.